Well, Mondays are usually the most boring day starting the week. But however, if you guys are big fans of the Yoshi wrestling scene or in Japanese wrestling in general, you're always on the right channel. So today we're going to be reviewing, of course, two back events from Yoshi Promotion Pro Wrestling Wave. Now, this is coming out from last month in the month of June. As you know, they started their annual round robin tournament called Catch the Wave. Now, I will give this details on that in case anybody asks. But we're also going to be reviewing the latest Sareee-ISM show produced by none other than Sareee, formerly known as Sareee. This is Chapter 8, in case anybody asks. This one features, of course, the match that's supposed to happen in the last event, Natsupoi taking on Miku Kane, but due to the injury she obtained a while back, she was unable to do so, so her other BFF, Sayuri Anu, stepped in. But now, she's willing to do so. But however, the main event, as you know, our current IWGP Women's Champion Sareee and her tag partner, current GHC Women's Champion Takumi Iroha, in fact, of course, team up to take on the members of Hate, more specifically Natsuko Tora and our current Red Belt Champion, Saya Kamitani. So we'll see how things will progress, and then as always, we will cap up our episode as usual with some new updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everybody, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever you want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got to do Naki Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the pleasantries. So, let's get on to business. But before I proceed, I want to apologize to everybody. Now, since I mentioned we have, of course, Pro Wrestling Wave, we have two back-to-back events. However, I couldn't find the poster to these events, but I'll actually name them and, of course, what days it took place. But, of course, I have everything marked down, but the only thing I could not get is the poster. So, bear with me, boys and girls. So, let's get started with Pro Wrestling Wave with Phase 2 Reboot. The thing that's, I'll get to the whole thing. So, let's do it. Okay, Pro Wrestling Wave. Now, For anybody who's been asking, we are continuing with, of course, we've been following now the Catch the Wave tournament. Now, for those who are not familiarized with this, this is their annual round robin tournament. And of course, the winner will walk out, of course, the Challenge Saya Kamitani for the Regina D-Wave Championship, who she, of course, held that title. Remember, last year she was the winner, but now she has that belt hostage in some capacity. So, as you know, the same but the round robin tournament. Now, the points is different on this one. If you win a match, you get 3 points. If you lose, it's 0. But if in the case of a time limit draw, each person will get a 1 point instead of like a point, 1.5. So I don't know why they did that, but that's how it rolls. But we have too many people involved in this entire thing. But the blocks are different from any other. Now remember, unlike New Japan with, of course, the G1 with A block and B block, well, they don't have that here on that. It's same, of course, the Red Star with the Stardom with the 5-star Grand Prix with the blue stars and the red stars, different. But their blocks are different, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Now, this event took place recently, of course, on the 1st of June of this year in Shinjuku Face. The name of the show is called Phase 2 Reboot 6 Nami 1. So that's pretty much the name of the show. Now, let's get started. Now, first match, it was an 8-woman tag match. We have, of course, Honoka, Kaho Kobayashi, Natsume, and of course the founder of Pro Wrestling Wave, Yumi Oka. They take on Asuka Goda, Saran, Kohaku, and Yuki Mizaki. Now, this is where things got interesting. On 2 occasions, in 2 seconds flat, of course, Saran was able to pin Natsurumi. So basically, that was like, what the hell? Like, first time it was like 2 seconds. Then, of course, they demanded a rematch, and then the same result again. However, when the the second restart happened, well, that was a little different. It took up maybe close to 15 minutes or so, or maybe less. But, however, in the end, it was, in fact, of course, Natsu who finally got her little payback against Saran when she pinned her. So, basically, Natsu Surime, Honoka, Kaho Kobashi, and Yumi Oka, they finally got their win. So, that's how it ended right there. Now, we do have another 8-woman tag match. We have Yuri, Rina Amikura, Itsuki Aoki, and Cherry taking on Kaori Yonoyama, Yuko Sakurai, Saki, and Risa Serra. Now, if you guys notice, most members of the colors on in one side, and there's only one on the other. As you know, Hikari Shimizu is retired. But yes, the match was okay, but in the end, it was Cherry. For those who don't know, Cherry has a background in judo, was able to pick up the win when she applied a submission onto Yuko Sakurai, and just like that, Yuko just gave up. Now, our first match of the Catch the Wave tournament is part of the, what was it? Oh yeah, the Earth Block. Don't ask me why they call it that. So I don't even want to know. We have Mizuki Kato versus Mio Shirai. For those who may know who Mio Shirai is, those who don't know who she is the elder sister of Io Sky. Yeah. So basically, she is. But nothing too special about this match whatsoever, except that they're trying to win the tournament. But in the end, it was Mizuki Kato who picked up the win by pinfall, giving her first 3 points on this one. And of course, Mio, according to the record here, it says that she had already 3 points. So basically, she does not advance. Now we jump into the Saturn block. We have Rana Yagami. Many of you know her. She's from Stardom. She takes on Miyuki Takase. Now, what's interesting of this match, those who know this, Miyuki Takase has about maybe 7 or 8 years of experience as a pro wrestler. Many of you may think, okay, Miyuki Takase most likely could, of course, pick up the win. But for those who don't know, Rana Yagami, this is not her first time ever participating in this tournament. She did participate last year, but now she gets to participate again. And she was able to pick up a victory, not by luck or sheer, well, you can say by luck, but in a way that you wouldn't have expected. by countout. So basically, Miyuki Takase was outside the ring, and of course, after the countout by the ref, she automatically win her first 3 points. Miyuki Takase already had 3 points, so I'm going to presume it might have happened possibly in May, which I did not see. Now, our next match, we have the Juniper block, part of the Catch the Wave. We have Yuki Mashiro versus Maika Ozaki. Now, for those who know Yuki Mashiro, she used to be part of the roster in Ice Ribbon, now turned freelancer. Nothing too special about this, but however, Maika Ozaki, many of you may know her. She is a very strong powerhouse, and she's part of the Rebel X Enemy, along with Mayuhiki, Rina Yamashita, and Ram Kaicho. But now she's doing this on her own, in case anybody asks. But she was able to pick up the win when she applied a somewhat of a torture rack bomb. Basically, she had Mashiro in a torture rack position, and then she twirled around like a power bomb type, and just like that, it was over. But however, from what I can tell, she is in the lead in her own block after 6 points. So basically, she has 6, while Yuki Mashiro only has 0. Our next match is part of the Catch the Wave. We have the Mercury block. We have Nanami Hadano, consists from Diana, taking on, of course, many of you know her, Azuki from Stardom. So basically, yeah, she is in this match. Now, of course, it most likely this match will go to Azuki, since she's very dangerous wrestler. She's hard. She's very, dangerous in the ring. And of course, her experience is a factor. And she picked up her win by applying the senton onto her. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, she gets her first 3 points. Oh, excuse me. Now, anyway, our last match, our main event, is part of the Venus block. We have Haruka Umasaki from Diana taking on Shin Sakura Iroda. Now, of course, if I was Umasaki, I would steer clear from Iroda for many reasons, because you don't want to play in her game, and that's the last thing she needs. But of course, she tried to do whatever it takes not to get involved in her usual antics, but in the end, Umasaki was able to survive it by applying a Mahestral onto her, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over, and she gets her first 3 points, while Hiroda already had her 3 points. So practically, you know how that ended. So this is only just part of the Catch the Wave tournament. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but we'll stick to it. But we will continue more on the other Pro Wrestling Wave event, and let's get to that now. Okay, we continue with Pro Wrestling Wave, with the title known as It's Wave, and it took place on June 7th at the Poste Amistad, which is the home venue from Pro Wrestling, Women's World Wrestling Diana, or something like that. So yeah, this is their venue. We opened up with a 6-woman tag team match. We have Cherry, Yumi Oka, and Yuki Miyazaki taking on Risa Sera, Kohaku, and Natsu Surime. Now, of course, as you know, many of these women might have participated in their much recent events in the Catch the Wave tournament. Others they haven't, but nonetheless, it was a very good opener. But unfortunately, this match did not pick up, of course, a winner, because it lasted after 20 minutes. I mean, there were moments where it seems like either Cherry or whoever seems like they were going to pick up the win, but unfortunately it just ended in time limit draw after 20 minutes. So that's how it ended right there. Now, our next 4 matches are part of the Catch the Wave tournament. Now let's jump into the blocks. The first one is the Juniper block. We have Yuki Mashiro versus Honoka. Now, of course, if you guys remember, Yuki Mashiro did not have any points at all since the tournament started. But from my understanding with Honoka, she only had 1 point, which I'm going to presume that she had that during a time limit draw. But you probably would have assumed that Honoka would have had the advantage to pick up a win. No. Unfortunately, this match did not actually ended up with a winner or lose because once again we ended up with another time limit draw, but instead it was in 15 minutes. So basically, Yuki Mashiro gained 1 point, and so did Honoka. But however, Honoka, since she already had a 1 point already advantage, she gets 2 points. So yeah, that's kind of confusing, boys and girls. So that's how it gets. Now let's jump into the next block, which is the Neptune block. We have Yuri versus Saran. So it's interesting to see how this match is. I mean, Saran, many of you may know her. She used to be part of Ice Ribbon, but now she's in Wave. She faces against Yuri. So basically anything could happen. Now Yuri, of course, many of you know her, that she has been trained under Taka Michinoku, but Saran was trained under Mio Shirai. But in the end, in this match, once again, it ended like last time, under a 15-minute time limit draw. So basically, each person gets 1 point each. So the way I see it, Yuri has a total of 4 points. So that means she probably already have a win from her previous match. And as for Saran, she already had she has 2 points. So that means she had this in a time limit draw. So I'm going to presume she must have got that from another match or something. But yes. Our next block is part of the Mercury one. We have Nanami Hatono versus Rina Amikura of Colors. So basically, this one, Amikura did not have any points whatsoever, and Nanami had only one already. So basically, someone had to pick up the win. But unfortunately, that match didn't do exactly anybody's favor. Once again, we ended up with another time limit draw after 15 minutes. So it just ended right there. Now, our main event is part of the Pluto block. We have Ayame Sazumura from 2AW. She takes on against Asuka Goda, who is a homegrown in Wave. But in the end, of course, this match ended with Sazumura applying a double foot stomp onto her, giving her the total points of 5. So I'm going to presume that, of course, the first 2 points, they probably might have been time limit draws. But as for Asuka Goda, she only had 0. So that's how things ended with this match, with this event. So hopefully I get the chance to see more of them. But as of right now, we'll end things here with, of course, Pro Wrestling Wave. Let's move on with Sareee-ISM. Okay, Sareee-ISM Chapter 8. This is their much recent event produced by none other than Sareee, formerly known as Sareee, and this was at Shinjuku Face, in case anybody asked. Now, of course, as always, the lady of the hour, Sareee, showed up with the promo, carrying, of course, the IWGP Women's Championship around her shoulder. So you probably know that she is happy that she finally got that belt, and yada yada yada. Now, our first match, of course, we have Honori Hanan taking on Sayaka Toyota. Not Sayaka Kurara, in case anybody asks. No, this is another Sayaka, and she is the niece of another wrestler who many people know, who has that same last name, Toyota. So basically, they're like rookies in every possible way. Now, of course, when it comes to rookies, someone has to pick up the win. But unfortunately, this match did not go exactly for either way in their plans, how they were going to win. It ended up in a 10-minute time limit draw. But of course, you probably could say they probably want to keep going at it at each other. But unfortunately, it does not apply. Now, our next match, we have Rian teaming up with Aya Sakura, taking on Kaoru Ito and Himiko Hota. Now, for those who don't remember, last Sareee-ISM show, Rian teamed up with Kaoru Ito to be in a part of the Master and Diplicent match, where, of course, Himiko Hota teamed up with Miko Kane at the time. But now that the Masters are in the front, while the learners are in the disciplines are in themselves. So you probably can guess that this is going to be an interesting moment. However, I'm sure Rihanna learned a lot from Ito, as much as she did while she was training with her. But unfortunately, I don't think she learned enough from someone like Ito, because unfortunately, she ended up in a sit-down power bomb by E2, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Our next match, we have Chi-Chi versus Dash Chisako. Now, for those who probably ask yourselves, why is Chi-Chi in this event? Easy. She actually faced Sareee before in one of their shows. So that kind of sets it up right there. So she's been a regular in her shows more often. And of course, she learned a lot from Sareee. I mean, she actually uses the Uranagi. But however, she faces a wrestler who is a bit of aggressive, a bit more violent, and of course, known as the Hardcore Queen. We're talking about Dash Chisako. So of course, Dash Chisako, who has more experience with her, is one of the bigger factors. But it was, of course, once again with Dash with a frog splash that allowed her to pick up the win. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, se acabó. Now, this match, this is one we've been expecting for quite some time, but it never happened. We're talking about Miku Kane versus Natsupoi. Now, this match initially was supposed to take it months ago. And I think that was in Sareee-ISM Chapter VI, I believe. That was around the time Natsupoi was injured and she was unable to do so. So Saori Anu was involved in that match. So basically, this was a favor that, of course, Sareee was intending to have her do. She wanted Miku Kane, who has been training under Yumiko Ota, to learn from a much experienced wrestler. But of course, Sareee is intended to have Natsupoi to bring out her violent nature, her much aggressive nature out, and that's exactly what she did. And she picked up the win by applying, of course, the Fairying Ring, which is kind of like like a different type of version of the Mahestrapa in her own way. And 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our next match, we have the members of Hate, consisting of Natsuko Tora and Seiga Kurara, taking on Sareee and Takumi Iroha. But like always, when it comes to Hate, we all know they are dirty players. They like to cheat. They like to bring in their pals to help out. I mean, they had Konami and Momo Watanabe by their side in every possible way to do so. But however, the turning point is when, of course, Takumi took out Natsuko Tora with the running 3, and then Sareee took out Natsuko Tora with the final blow, more specifically the Uranagi, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, apparently that they wanted to continue on with their this little match going on. However, I do have a bit of the translation here. Let me pull it up for all of you so you guys can see what's going on. Apparently, Sareee wants to continue her little war against, of course, with Hate. However, she did state that she challenged Hate into a match. She'll be teaming with Chi-Chi and Miku Kane on July 24th at Korakuen Hall. So we're not that far off from that. So basically, that's what's going to happen. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going to be. But Sareee did state it doesn't matter if it's in Sareeism or Stardom. So we'll see what happens. Now, we do know that Hate had some issues towards Sareee recently. They're thinking that, Sareee doesn't consider them as pro wrestlers, so mostly in Stardom in general. But we'll see what happens until then. But as of right now, we are done with Sareeism. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin, as usual, with some upcoming events. Now, we have the GCW stuff. Now, as you know, they will be doing the GCW Japan for a 3-day show. Now, it was foretold on the July 30th event in Korakuen Hall, 2 title matches will happen. Well, if one of them happens. Effie will be defending his title if he was still champion against, of course, Matt Tremont. However, the GCW tag team belts will be defended. Alec Price and Jordan Oliver defend their belts against Masha Slamovich and Rina Yamashita. Now, another interesting match taking place on August 2nd in Rudolph for Bloodsport, I believe, is 14. Natty Neidhart, or we all know her Natalia, will take on Masha Slamovich. That's going to be a good match. And then finally, we have the Jersey Championship Wrestling High Noon on August 3rd. We have Matt Mako taking on LeBron Kozo. Now, that's pretty much it what we have for our upcoming events. Let's talk about an interesting development. This was coming from Fightful Select. Apparently, Blake Christian revealed that he was the man behind the idea of Axiom. So that's right. According to what the sources were saying, it was him who began the Axiom. He wanted to be Axiom. But this is what initially he said. Let me pull up that. Yeah, this is what he said. I was supposed to be Axiom, yes. I came up with all that stuff. And I think the person WWE gave it to a great and done a great job, maybe even better than I could have done it. I'm happy to see it's still alive and doing as well as doing. So yeah, so basically Christian feels like, it could have passed on to him, but he feels that the current Axiom is doing a far more better job than he could have done. I mean, imagine things like that would have happened, but we don't know what it would have been like for Blake Christian to play this character he created. I mean, it kind of feels a little bit like the story with Bruce Lee. If you guys remember, there was that show known as Kung Fu back in the '60s. Initially, it was supposed to be Bruce Lee to, of course, be in that show, but they decided to put someone else, which, of course, some people call it an injustice because the character is played by a white guy instead of an actual Chinese dude. So that kind of feels like similar like that. But I think the only difference in this one, I think the guy who's playing Axiom now, A-Kid, is in fact, of course, is doing a far more better job than I think I would have imagined. But who knows what it'd been like for Blake Christian to play this character. But I'm glad that he's happy that things are going well for whoever's behind that mask. But we'll see. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. All right. So I apologize to people about not putting the posters from Pro Wrestling Wave. I did not anticipate I was ever going to see these events, but I apologize for that. So that's dumb luck for me. But hopefully I can get some better ones next time. But that's over with. But for our next episode, of course, the priority is NXT. I haven't decided yet what, if any other events I might do. Possibly I might want to catch up with Mighty Gold as soon as possible. I'm way behind on certain events, but I am doing the best humanly possible to get through all of them. But as of right now, NXT is a priority. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.